I am Bob Kula. I'm running for the position of Highway Commissioner. I've lived in Avon Township a little over 4 years.
Jeannie Kirby. I'm a resident of Avon Township for over 35, almost 40 years. And I'm running for trustee of Avon Township, and actually lived in an unincorporated area before it was taken over by the beach, so I understand exactly what township means to this area. And I'm looking to be elected. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie. Hi, Kathy DeGrow, your neighbor. I'm running for Avon Township trustee, and in the unique position of recently being appointed the new deputy clerk of the township. So I have two hats I'm wearing, and I'm very happy to be able to reach across the aisle and work for the township. Thank you.
I think it's a Don's. Each candidate will have a 3-minute opening statement, after which we will take questions on the cards. I will pass up a little bit. Each candidate will have a 3-minute closing statement at the end of questions. The incumbent, Lisa Rush, will start first, and the challenger, Douglas Rowe Williams, will start first at the end of our forum. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer the question. If the question is directed to one or the other candidate, there will be a 60-second rebuttal involved. In case of a charge or statement that needs to be rebutted in the 1 minute answer portion, there will be a 30-second rebuttal allowed. Our timekeeper, Ann Bidwell, will signal you at the end of your time allotted, after which you may finish your sentence. Okay. So, everyone's card, please.
Opening statement first.
For the questions.
Aaron, have Lisa. Lisa starting.
Yeah.
Have to do the 3-minute open while you're collecting those cards.
Okay.
All right. I don't need a microphone. I have a very loud voice. I grew up with 5 younger brothers. I'm used to talking loud.
But we are taping this.
Okay, you can hear me. Trust me, you will hear me. Hi, I see a lot of familiar faces. For those of you who don't know me, I am Lisa Rush, your Avon Township Supervisor. I ran 4 years ago for the position of clerk. When I was first approached to run, I knew very little about township government. I was first and foremost a mother. Some would say a soccer mom, because I'm also the regional commissioner for Grays Lake's American Youth Soccer Organization. The thought of ever running for public office seemed as likely as becoming a NASCAR driver. If you've ever seen me drive, you know it's not that far. But I got involved in the community through my kids and friends. Like with Kathy, we were on the PTO together. And volunteering for numerous civic and social service organizations, I started to see and understand how things functioned. And like most of you, I got angry every time my property tax bill arrived. Yes, my property tax bill, and obviously caring about the community, was the reason I ran for township government. I moved here in 1994 with my then 3.5-year-old son, Christopher. Oh yeah, my husband, Steve. And a couple years later, our son, Ryan, came along. We moved here because it was affordable, unlike the suburb where I grew up. It had lots of open spaces, great schools, and it was also easy access to good libraries, which is a big must for my husband. It was close to our families, and of course, easy access to the city of Chicago. Our intention was to set roots and stay where we are, but as the years went by and the area grew, so did our property taxes. It seemed illogical, and it still does, that with more people and businesses contributing, that our taxes keep getting higher and higher, which is what brings me back to the reason I'm here today, property taxes. The people I ran with 4 years ago, almost all of whom compose the Avon Action Slate today, saw a township that benefited the elected officials at the expense of the rest of us. As the economy was in free fall mode, the previous administration was raising tax levies, buying unneeded property, and increasing their salaries. Some of them were spending taxpayer money like it was their own. As many of you know, those of us that ran had very different ideas. We made pledges and promises that people liked, and the residents of Avon Township voted us into office. The campaign promises were simple, and some people doubted we would ever actually be able to accomplish them. 4 years ago, we promised to give back pay, and our team collectively has returned over $50,000 to the taxpayers. A promise made, and yes, a promise kept. 4 years ago, we promised to reduce levies by 8%. Today, we have reduced levies by 22%. A promise made and more than surpassed. Avon Township is the only township in the state of Illinois that has lowered tax levies every year we've been in office. 4 years ago, we promised to reduce spending, and we cut our operating budget by over 20%, a promise we kept without eliminating a single job and while expanding services. The new rain gardens that help with runoff and keep Highland Lake one of the cleanest was built with grant money secured by my teammate and your highway commissioner, Tom Bruss. Yeah.
I even gave you extra time because Larry was talking.
Thank you.
It's fine.
He can talk more about that, but it is a path to innovation and improvement without an impact to your property taxes. This is a great example of what we've done. Our approach, we will not duplicate services. We will not spend tax dollars on something.
Time.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Douglas Rowe Williams, and thank you for the privilege of being here with you. I'm sorry. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, Ann and I have lived in Haynesville for the last 10 years. I own my own insurance brokerage. I was elected to the Round Lake Consolidated School District Board of Education in April of 2009, and I served through March of 2012 until I was appointed trustee for Avon Township by Sam Yingling. I serve on several nonprofit boards in Lake County. I work with Youth Build Lake County, Latino Coalition of Lake County. I'm also on the advisory committee for Round Lake High School School-Based Health Center group. I'm also on the advisory committee and steering committee for Leave No Child Inside in North Chicago and Waukegan in partnership with Friends of Ryerson Woods. I'm an Air Force veteran, and I'm a member of the American Legion in Round Lake Park, Post 1170. And if elected as your next township supervisor, I pledge not to raise your property taxes for the next 4 years and keep them flat. And in order to do that, I will work in collaboration with local businesses and community organizations to ensure that we maximize our budget to benefit the residents of Avon Township. And also, I pledge to work in collaboration with all 7 municipalities in Avon Township to ensure that we create a strategic plan and make sure that Avon Township is running successfully. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Give them the mic and start reading the questions, or you can use the mic and say, ask the questions.
This is for both candidates. As supervisor, would you require the
Front.
As supervisor, would you require that township officials, including yourself, spend a minimum number of hours at township offices, and if so, how many hours would be dedicated?
Sure, I'll go first. I believe that a township supervisor should be there mostly full-time. I currently work at a library in Libertyville, and if elected, I will, unfortunately, my library is very saddened by this, but I will give up those hours and be a full-time supervisor.
Yes, I agree with Lisa. In order to do the things that I mentioned, especially collaborating with local businesses and community groups and with the mayors of 7 municipalities, there's no way you're going to do that unless you're here full-time, and that's the only way we're really going to bring change to Avon Township.
For the current supervisor, until recently, the township website did not post a number of monthly meeting agendas or minute reports. Given the current team of township officials, why wouldn't they keep a website up to date?
Well, let's put it this way. I always say that my computer hates me. Whether I try to scan something or whether I try to upload minutes, it will not upload them. I recently brought in somebody and said this is ridiculous. Once I became supervisor, I said this is ridiculous. Fix my computer and fix it now. And if you've noticed, since I become supervisor, all of the minutes and the agendas are quickly posted.
Would you like to respond?
Yeah, no, the website, I agree with Lisa, it's very important that the website be updated because we really need to market our services to those residents. So if that's one way of really communicating with residents, and I would say that probably sending out newsletters would be another one, but really having an up-to-date website is crucial to residents knowing what our services are and just being able to exchange information.
You were going to say that? To both candidates, what is your position on eliminating township government, so stated in campaign by the supervisor that just resigned?
Okay, I don't, when Sam was talking, that was the former supervisor, when he was talking about eliminating township government, There's a lot of townships that are duplicating services. They have park districts, they have senior centers, they have youth services. I live in a municipality that has, and where I live, I actually am able to utilize more than one town. Where my house is, I'm half Grays Lake, half Round Lake Beach. We have amazing parks in Round Lake Beach and Grays Lake. We have an amazing park district in each of them. We have amazing libraries in each of them. We don't need to be duplicating the services that like some of the townships are doing. We offer a senior bus through PACE, and it works out great, but we don't need to offer a senior center, because each of the villages and within our township offer a great senior.
No, and I would disagree with Sam that townships are irrelevant. We're still as relevant as we were in the 1800s when we were established. And what needs to happen, though, is I think we need to change the way we operate. We can't operate on basis of always increasing property taxes or solely relying on property taxes. And as I mentioned earlier, that cooperation between the southern municipalities is crucial. I mean, any business that ran that didn't communicate with its stakeholders just wouldn't survive. And we can't survive if we are duplicating services because we're not partnering and creating a strategic plan to say, hey, how do we solve these problems in the township that may be particular to a certain community, but there's some that overlap that we could really work collaboratively and solve them. So I agree that duplicating services is not acceptable, but collaboration is what's missing.
For the current candidate, you have made about 9 transfers between accounts in the last several months, somewhere between $13,000. Was there a reason that the budget was so obviously in error?
I'm sorry. Sure. Sure, I'll discuss that. Well, obviously I am here discussing it. One of the transfers we made was for unemployment and for Social Security taxes, and I don't know about you, but my paycheck went way down after the first of the year. So we had to rebudget for that. In addition, there were some errors made in the salary. No salaries were raised, no salaries were changed. It was just an error in budgeting.
No, and I agree, because that was just our last meeting.
Yep.
So.
What is the constitutional mission or townships, what are they mandated to do?
Townships are mandated for general assistance, emergency assistance, to keep records, to budget, but to help it's basically to help the needy. That's what a township government was put in place for originally. It was to help the needy.
No, and I would agree with that, but if we're going to remain relevant, though, and fulfill those core missions, again, I go back to the way we fund the township. We can't continue to rely on property taxes, so we're really going to have to, again, seek partnerships and new revenue, like grant money, to bring into the township to fund services that's not based solely on property tax. So I do agree that we're very relevant and we have that mandate, but we just have to look at the way we operate going forward in a manner that doesn't put pressure on property taxes.
What innovative programs would either of you introduce?
Innovative programs. Well, I'm working on one right now, and it's actually one Doug was talking about. I've actually called several of the mayors in several of the villages, and I've also am working with other townships and talking to them about what we can do to, what they're doing and what we can do to make our services better.
I agree. Since I've been here since March, I work with Family Service, which is a nonprofit that provides services to seniors. I partnered with Sam, and they're actually located here, and we provide health care and senior counseling services without out-of-pocket costs for seniors. I work with the University of Illinois Extension, and we're always looking for ways to bring 4-H to communities. Sometimes you just need a little bit of assistance, but we bring services in, and I think that's the way that we really need to be going forward and to bring in new services is by partnerships with nonprofits that want to come into the area, but they just need someone to give them access and and just that ability to function within the township.
For the current candidate, what senior citizens public transportation is available for Avon Township?
We have a senior bus. It's gone through PACE. It is available from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The bus has to be back at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Can't be out beyond that. It's $1 each way. Medical appointments, I believe, you can do out 2 weeks. Otherwise, you can call and schedule an appointment for the bus if it is available and it's within the area that Suzanne travels. Suzanne is our bus driver. If you haven't met her, she's a wonderful woman. Then she will take you there. And it's for seniors and the low income, yes. Sorry.
Does anyone have any other cards?
I didn't get a chance to fill one out when I came in, but I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a senior citizen. In the last 5 years since the economy changed, I've been trying to fight my real estate taxes. My real estate taxes have gone up over $1,000 in the last 2 years, or over 12%. I can read the tax bill. I know it's all the schools. How do we, other than arbitrarily getting the assessor to just lower our taxes, are we going to stop the schools from increasing such huge amounts? $850 increase last year, and they're going to increase it again this year. How do we stop them from
Brought
going?
my tax bills to show you that they've gone up over the past several years.
Well, sure,
When
mine
we
went up
moved-
$850
Yeah.
last year, all
When we
schools.
moved in 1994, Steve and I, our taxes were about $2,000. They're now over $6,000. It's all for the schools. There is
But
the
what can the
assessor.
township do to stop
The
that?
township is already doing it. We lowered the levy. We lowered the levies by 22%. We lowered the budgeting by 20%. We're doing our small part. It has to be the schools.
If you didn't do that, would our taxes go up? I mean,
Yes,
if-
on the
Yes,
Avon
4%.
Township level.
Yeah.
On the level of
Well, they
Township
can
of
do is
Avon and Special Road Improvement, Avon Gravel, that's where your taxes would go up if we didn't help you.
Do you have control over the assessor? We could just arbitrarily lower the assessed valuation of all the houses, but, I mean, that's the only way you can stop them.
You could talk to Chris about that, but I don't think that is, unfortunately, because of the school districts, you can always contest your tax bill. As a matter of fact, our
5 times
assessor.
for 5 years, doesn't do any good.
Okay. Mine actually went down. I was just looking at this one. It went down by $248.34. Woo!
Last year,
Last year, because I
went up
contested it.
$850.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, but it's just, it's the school, everybody else has to start following suit of what we're doing. You don't need to be living off a huge budget and, purchasing unnecessary things. You just need to.
I understand, that the schools need money, but it's the social
Right.
security, it's the elderly people that are,
I
when the
understand.
government gives us, 1.7% increase and we get a 12% increase in our tax bill.
I agree.
It's ridiculous.
No, and that's a great question, and when I served on the school board for Round Lake, that was always the biggest complaint of residents, so, which is why I wanted to come over to the township, because I saw more of an opportunity to impact 7 municipalities, because what happens is, it's quality of life issues that really lower property values, and the way taxes are really set up is that when property values go down, the tax rate goes up. So what the township can do basically is if we improve the quality of life for seniors, for example, not using property tax money, but if we go out and look for grant money to say, we're going to provide services that are not being provided anywhere for seniors, for youth, for the unemployed that are coming to the food pantry, when we do it with grant money, I call that capacity building. So we make the area more attractive, and hopefully that starts raising property values up. And again, you'll see those tax rates go down. But as long as we're losing property value in Avon Township, which we have for the last few years, you're going to see your tax rates stay higher. So how can we impact them? We do have by partnering with the business communities to make sure that downtown Round Lake Park.
Taxpayers expect clear, concise record keeping with clearly defined purpose. What justification is there for charging a legal fee for copying, then telling the citizen to write the check to the food pantry instead of the clerk's office, which generated the charge? Why are clerk's fees being collected by the food pantry? How is this the transparency the citizens expect? How much money is donated to other organizations? Township has such a small portion of tax collection. Why are we not using these funds to expand township services?
Okay, I'll answer that. The reason that I make people write that check out to the Avon Township Food Pantry is because we're following a budget. We live within that budget. There's money left over, a little bit of money left over at the end of a budget on occasion. We don't need the money, the Township Food Pantry does. The food pantry has increased the number of residents using it over 300% over the past 4 years. 300%. We can only purchase so much food. and we can only get so many donations. So you know what? The copying, we're copying pages anyway. Make it to the food pantry. I'd rather you make the donation to the food pantry.
Just to answer the question of why we're not expanding services, again, that's another area that's really close to my heart. And again, it doesn't have to be based on property taxes. There's a lot of grant money, there's a lot of nonprofits that want to come and partner with us, but we have to be susceptible to it. So let's talk about the schools. Round Lake and District 46 have to pay stipends every time they have a teacher stay afterwards for tutoring and so forth. Wouldn't it be novel that we apply to a corporation or a foundation to say, hey, we want to have after-school programs here for math and reading tutoring, and and we like to apply for a grant. So that's innovative, and that's the way I think that we need to go forward for the unemployed. How do we lower the amount of people that are coming to the food pantry? Well, if you need job training, let's refer you somewhere where you can get it. Maybe to the county or a private organization. Let's have job fairs here. Let's have 50 employers come in, bring your resume, and hopefully, a good percentage of our unemployed will be employed. But we really have to think outside the box and bring in new revenue that's not based on property taxes.
Okay. We actually were thinking of doing a job fair in Avon Township, but realized how many other people do job fairs. And by the end of it, you're going to get McDonald's showing up. You're going to get Wendy's showing up. So it's the same over and over. So we will post. We will offer. There's a couple of people who have requested rides to the job fair, and that is what I believe is a better thing than bringing that within our township. We don't have a lot of space. I can't see. Could you see inside here having a job fair? It's a little small.
30 seconds.
I'm done.
You're done button.
Done button.
Anything else?
Yeah, no, I would disagree with that. I think that if you're unemployed, you would probably not agree with that statement. Again, if we want to improve the quality of life here, we have to do those things that will help people get back to work and not lose their homes. And again, it goes back to impacting property values. The more attractive it is here, the more people that will want to purchase homes, and the more you see market values going up, and hopefully our property taxes going down.
Any more questions from the audience?
Hey, I had turned one in that hadn't been asked.
That was one that I couldn't really read too well.
Hank? I'm sorry.
Would you like me to?
Of course. Sorry about that.
This is something that I'm concerned about was the news of the lawsuit that was settled on about firing $450,000.
Yeah, it wasn't settled. The TORMA made that settlement. The board did not vote on that. We did not approve that, and it was told to us afterwards.
And the rest of my question was, well, somebody settled. They settled for $450,000, and taxpayers paid that settlement amount. It was taxpayers from
The insurance company paid it?
which you pay insurance for that, right?
Yes, but
Okay. So, and it was resulted from actions in the township, right?
well, yes, but as I said, we did not approve it, nor did, and there were no votes for it at all. We did not vote on it. As a matter of fact, we still actually, I believe, our attorney, which I'm not 100% sure on this, I'm not 100% sure on the language of this, is what I should say, but our attorney is actually still looking into this.
Who caused the lawsuit?
Who caused the lawsuit?
Who caused it?
Well, I believe the employees thought they were fired unfairly, and so they,
By the supervisor?
no, it was the former assessor, Bryce Cares.
So,
I'm sorry.
the rest of my question was, going through the website and looking at minutes, over half of the township meetings included executive sessions on probable litigation. I know you can't comment specifically, but as a possible person on the board and as a concerned citizen, is there more litigation coming against the township?
Not really. It's just something that the attorney wants wording in the executive session. These are possible things that we could be going into executive session for. I questioned him when I was making the last agenda.
Well, yeah, the wording was changed in class.
Just slightly, because I
So
was
there are no
questioning that.
more lawsuits pending against Avon Township?
Well, as I said, you're right, in executive session, there is one, which I cannot discuss any details, but there is one that is in appellate court.
So there is, okay.
Just one.
I have questions. Does the Avon Township supervisor have control over who sues you and who sues you?
Hold on, you got it, your thought.
Yeah, no, and I understand the question because our deductible portion of the lawsuit was $60,000 that we paid out. So what irks me in general is that local government is the closest to people, so we need to be the most responsive, the most compassionate and ethical, I think. So I think that what we pledge is we don't want to bring Springfield-type politics to the township. I'm tired of it. It has to be, here's a problem, let's solve it, not let's win at all costs. Because that's what happens when you win at all costs. It brings on political ramifications and lawsuits that then the taxpayer ends up paying. So ethics matters, especially in local government, because we're so close to those people that need us.
I will rebut on that. There were no backdoor Springfield politics involved in that. And if this case was clear and I could discuss it, I would be happy to.
Okay, you had one final question from the floor, that was coming up here.
I just had a question.
And then we want to not get discussion going back and forth. But then we'll allow that question.
No, I'm fine. I was just kind of confused on the question. It's like you can't control who sues you or don't sue you. You don't have that ability to, if someone sues you, to prevent them from suing you.
Well, if you do things the right way, without causing people, upsetting people to the point where they're, losing their jobs or something, or you can't. You're right. You can't control it, but you should be using better judgment. You can be using better judgment so that these things don't occur.
No, I think it's indicative of how township government runs is by the way we run campaigns also. And I could tell you that our independent team was challenged. We had to expend money that we didn't want to expend on a challenge, which thank God we won. A great person, Judy Armstrong, who was running, was intimidated out of the race. I can't think of anybody more ethical than Judy Armstrong. So the way we run campaigns is what spills over into local township government. And then again, that's unacceptable. We need to win on issues, not on dirty politics.
I am not for dirty politics. I did not do anything negatively to anyone. Actually, my son, my 14-year-old son, one time somebody called me unethical, and he goes, "What does that mean, Mom?" And I explained it to him. He goes, "They really don't know you at all, do they?" And I says, "No, they do not, Ryan."
Well, I personally think that deserves a little bit follow-up, that lawsuit. And while I would agree that there's no control over a lawsuit, bringing a lawsuit, there shouldn't be any control over anybody wanting to bring a lawsuit, because when there is something that is unethical or illegal, the lawsuit should be brought.
Right.
I think we all agree with that. But it does speak to a group of people, and this is what we mean by the politics, I think, is when a group of people does take office, and maybe the group doesn't necessarily have control over that person, maybe didn't have an active hand in that person, but you do have the ability to stop and be responsible and accountable for certain actions that person takes. And that person, there shouldn't be anybody who has so much power that they come in and just fire an entire group of people, such as Mr. Harris did at that time. So the way I looked at it is that, you're saying that there wasn't a liability by the community at all for $450,000. That's what I'm getting out of your response. There was no accountability. The $450,000 isn't a real number. It wasn't something that impacted this community at all. Well, in real numbers, $60,000 was real money from the insurance. And then you said you gave $50,000 back through the 4 years that your administration was able to give back money, and then you gave $50,000 back. So the way I look at it is you're still $10,000 in arrears. So I guess my question is how do you respond to that you still seem to be in arrears in your administration and owe the community some responsibility and accountability for the losses?
Well,
Pay was returned out of our pockets.
But it still exists.
okay, well,
That was our decision personally, out of our own pockets, paid back that money.
the 22% that we've lowered the levies, the 20% that we've cut our budget, I believe more than speaks for that. We give money to the food pantry on a regular basis through when people do FOIA requests. We have more than made up for that $10,000 in arrears thing. Yes.
Is the food pantry part of township government?
Are you asking Doug?
I'm asking the moderator so he can direct the question.
This is going to be the last question we take live from the floor, because we were departing from our format. So we each have a chance to answer this, and then we'll go.
Sure, I'll go first. It is, but because we are designated an emergency food pantry, and that means that we get up to 10,000 pounds of free food a month. That has to be funded through a 501c3, which is the Avon Township Community Foundation. So it's funded through donations, food donations, and dollar donations, monetary donations. So it's not funded through property taxes.
Right, because the Northern Illinois Food Bank will not sell you money unless you're a 501c3 founded in the 501c3 foundation. So in order for the food pantry to benefit from the Northern Illinois Food Bank and from the post office that holds food pantry, the donations, you have to be a 501c3. So what happens is you pay through the township, and then the township writes the check to the foundation.
Maybe I asked a question wrong, but do you not pay out of township money positions on the board?
You mean like the staff member that works
Yes.
there? There's one staff member that is employed by the township that runs the food pantry.
I have problems with when you say you're giving money to them. It's actually a function within the township. It should be budgeted within. I understand that it has to be nonprofit, but it's not a gift. It's part of the budget financial position.
Okay, no answer to that. Because,
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Each candidate will have a 3-minute closing statement.
3 minutes, huh?
I think Doug goes first.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much for taking the time to let us speak to you. I'd like to ask for your vote on April 9th, and for the following reasons. Township government is still relevant, but we can't function as we have in the past. We have to look at ways of funding township services through partnerships with municipalities and nonprofits and the business community, and create a strategic plan so we really know where we're going deliberately, so we can really help each other to attack some of the issues that really impact our property values and therefore puts pressure on property taxes. I pledge to you that for the next 4 years I would keep your property taxes flat. I would work with businesses and community organizations to make sure that we maximize the township budget, and also work with the 7 municipalities to create a strategic plan so we can ensure that Avon Township is running successfully. So please, I hope you would vote for me on April 9th, and my name is Douglas Rowe Williams.
Spell your last name?
Williams, Williams.
My name is Lisa Rush, and that's spelled R-U-S-C-H. Well, it's funny, because now when my boys spell it, we always spell like R-U-S, and then we pause and say C-H, so that everybody knows how to spell it. My name is Lisa Rush, and I am running for Avon Township Supervisor. I have spent 4 years working with the Avon Action Team, and we have been working on reducing the levies, reducing the budget, and I want to continue doing that. I also want to look for continued programs in the community to help us out a little bit more. I want to work with, as I said, I've already contacted mayors and other township supervisors for help with that, and because I'm not a politician, I'm a mom who wants to have the best possible community that my boys can grow up in. And I want them to be able to grow up here like many of you have your whole entire life. Thank you, and thank you very much for having me.
The next meeting of the Highland Lake Property Association will be our annual meeting, which will be held at the Painesville Village Hall on Monday, the 18th of March. Stand adjourned. Thank you very much.